Douglas and the North Star, a city of resistance, full of abolitionists, hidden tunnels and passages.
Welcome to the Ska History Hour with your hosts, Jose Rojas
Hello.
and myself, Daryl Rubio, wherein the purpose of this channel is to spread awareness of ska music and its subgenres to the world. Our guests today are members of Some Ska Band, Tricia Lynn Gonzalez, and Darrin Constantini. Is that correct? Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So you two, we appreciate the time you're taking to speak with us, to share your stories and your music to the ska community. Now that we know who you are, can you let us know what your position is in the band?
Me? I'm two-tone Trish. I'm the singer, do a lot of the writing of the music as well, and some ska band.
I'm Darrin, and I am one of the guitar players, and also do a lot of the writing with Trish.
All right, perfect. All right. Now, we see, first of all, so far you have 4 releases to date. It's Going Down, Better Together, which is an awesome name. You could, with the whole thing, it's because of the COVID, it is Better Together.
Yeah.
That was such a great name. Every Now and Then, and now your newest release that was just a few days ago, Lost in a Moment. So congratulations on the new release.
Thank you.
All right. So normally, that was just an intro. It's not the question yet.
Yeah.
So normally you guys have self-release albums. Was this by choice? You wanted to control everything, or did you actually look at a label for maybe distribution or them to actually incur the costs?
So, I bug Chuck Wren every time we put something out because I love him to pieces and I know him from way back in the day. So every time I'm like, come on, Chuck, when are you doing it? When are you doing it? So we've had a few offers, but we really hold out for Chuck. But even this last one, he's like, I don't know, Trish. So I was like, you've got one more chance, Chuck, because we just started our own record label. So I was like, you got it, and then we're taking it.
Mhm.
So right.
Nice.
So Monkey Do Records is why
Yeah.
it's on that. So that's our
Right.
new label.
We got some questions on that too. We didn't want to skip out on that one, but that's a good start there. Awesome.
Now, how did the idea for forming Some Ska Band come about, and what inspired your choice of the name?
So the history of the band starts well before Tricia or I were in the band. Back in 2011, our sax player, Charles Benoit, has always been a big ska fan. Really big fan of the Scatolites, the Specials, a lot of that music. He got asked to form kind of a house band for the company that he was working with. They're a marketing company here in Rochester. So he put together a ska band, since that was his favorite kind of music. He learned to play the saxophone to play in this band. So back in 2011, he was the house band for a few years for this marketing company that would have a lot of events, right? They'd bring their clients in. The name came about the first time they got paid, when he didn't have a name, and they said, what do we write on the check? And he's like, just put Some Ska Band on there. and that's what it became. And, the next day a bank account was opened, and the name has stuck ever since.
Cool.
That's a good story.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, when you first got into ska, what were some of the first bands you heard of? Any bands that you love in regards to that?
Do you want me to go first? So I first heard of ska back in before I was born in 1991 or 92. When I was not yet around. But basically I was walking down my driveway, and one of my best friends I've known since I was 3 was outside messing around on guitar, and they were trying to start a punk ska band. And I just heard him, and he was like, I said, what are you playing? And he's like, oh, it's this thing called ska. And I was like, all right, that's awesome. And I said, anything you want to show me? He's like, no, I'm just starting my own band. And I was like, oh, well, let me in on it whenever you get a chance. And there's a whole story that goes with that. But basically that was my first hint toward it. But I also Like he's one of my all-time best friends. So we listened to all sorts of things together, right? So at the time, gosh, I'm thinking, so that's like Appetite for Destruction. He'd play that on the bus, right? I'm trying to get my years right. And all of the, grunge was kind of becoming a thing ish then. So you still had Michael Jackson and all of that as well. And he'd be listening to all of that music. So I was like, wow, if he likes all that and I like all of that, ska must be pretty cool. But his favorite band at the time was Bim Scala Bim. So he was like, here, just leave me alone. Take the CD and listen to it, because he's practicing. So that was my first intro to it. And of course, Bim at the time had all of those compilation albums. So I got to borrow all those. So of course, when you play one of those, all of a sudden you hear all of these other bands. And that's kind of what got that going. And I just loved, I'm Puerto Rican. So my father played the guitar growing up, but also would play lots of all in Spanish music. So all the horns and that, I think it was a really easy transition at that point for my ear, because I just love the upbeats and the sound and lyrics I can understand. So that's what got me diving deep into the genre. But when the politics behind it and the two-tone movement and everything goes with that, also the social justice aspect, then I was just, that was it. That was it forever for me.
I'm obviously a guitar player and come from that guitar player side. My influences were the harder side of that, right? The more guitar heavy stuff, the Op Ivy kind of more guitar focused stuff than the horn stuff that we're playing today. So it's been a bit of a transition for me into the kind of music we're playing today. But obviously when we were in a band with two guitar players and probably more guitar solos than you see in a lot of other ska bands, that guitar focus is still there for me.
Cool. Now on a flyer, do some people think like it's just some ska band or something instead of the ska band?
Every single show, like all of the ones when we're playing with the Slackers, like well-known ska bands that are phenomenal. When we're playing with them, there's at least one or two people that walk up to the merch table, because of course our name's everything, and they're like, oh, that's funny, and then they're like, we came to figure out who the band was, but that's literally who you are. And as we get more well-known, then it's just kind of like a funny thing that people are like, hey, when I first heard you, but I'll say one or two people at every show will be like, but they also, I don't have it here, but one of our merch ideas was like, my favorite t-shirt from Some Ska Band, right? So that automatically people, like, even if they don't know who we are, they're like, oh, I get that, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
That's funny that you said that, because my girlfriend today asked me, so who are you interviewing today? I said, Some Ska Band. And she's all like, thought she was thinking like, so you just don't want to tell me?
Yeah.
Did you forget their name? Which one are they?
Yeah, exactly. It's just Some Ska Band. It's all right.
It's really funny when people get it. We're like Cooley, like one of my favorite people, right? When he introduces us, or at least over at Supernova, he introduced us and he's like, and now for some kind of ska band. And we're like, what? It's so funny. Like when you change just one of the words, you're like, no, it's Some Ska Band. But he's cute.
That's funny.
Well, let's hear about some of the band's songwriting process. And normally my backup or my question with that is, should we be expecting any new material in the future? But you just have some new ones. So tell us about the songwriting process, please.
I think it's all over the place. If you look at the new album, there were two songs on there, Illusions and Let's Be Honest, which are songs that Tricia and I wrote together a couple years ago, and the band has been working on. Two of the other songs on there, which are Two Trains and We Got Us, are songs that really the band worked on together, right? Charles wrote the lyrics for both of those. For Two Trains, we're like, how can we get that train feeling? We just sat at a practice and we started developing it together, where we'd say, okay, I have let's look at an Agrolites feel for the guitar, and then our drummer would put in a drum beat that would kind of mimic that train, and Tricia would really work on the lyrics after we kind of figured out the chords. So that's a cool way we did it. We've also taken some lyrics to other people. Actually, we got us. Charles took to Chris Murray and said, I have these lyrics and I can't feel how it's going to feel. And Chris took the lyrics and kind of wrote a song in his style, which we kind of used as a jumping off point. We're like, okay, we see where he's going with this. Now let's make it ours. So we're really all over the place with how we do it, from individual people completely developing a song like Tricia and I did with Illusions, and Dave did on Heavy Merge, our other guitar player, to these really collaborative things where we just come with a general idea, and over the course of a couple months even of practicing, where we take 15 minutes at each practice and try to make it a little bit better. We do really all those kinds of things.
And I think the relationship part of it is huge, because when we first came into the band, I remember they played a lot more covers, and like the song Robots, that the band's gonna like kill me for this. It's funny. When it first came, like they're like, hey, sing this. And we couldn't like pull it together. Like it was so hard, because the idea, Dave had a really awesome like ideas, like sound like a robot when you sing. And I'm like, I don't think that's happening. But like tried, but it was like sing off the beat, now sing on the beat, like, because he wanted it to be so robotic that, and me, I'm more poppy, melodic. Like I definitely write a lot of the melodies, right? So I'm like, I don't feel it. So that one kind of got put on a shelf for a little bit. And that was kind of like our first, can we write together? Because it's going to take forever to get these songs, done. But you loved part of them, like different parts or aspects of them. And then I think the first time that we realized, oh no, we're gonna start to fly with our abilities to write together, was Darrin and I sitting down with our ideas and my melodies, lyrics, him with the music, and then just really like coming up with something that's almost feels completely done, bringing that to the band. And then they're like, wait, like all the different parts, like Charles, like, I could come up with a better saxophone part. You're like, yes, you can. I can come up with a better bass part. Yes, you can. And then suddenly, like everybody adding their parts, the song came alive. And I think the first time that we really sat was Charles like, I gave it to Chris Murray, and Chris Murray's Chris Murray. He does an amazing job, and it definitely sounded like a Chris Murray song. But we're like, well, there's 8 of us, and we're definitely not going to sound like Chris Murray. I'm definitely not vocally, right? So we sat there that day, like, let's just see what we could do with it now that we know what it can sound like. And then we took it like in a completely different direction, probably 3 different directions at some point. And then all of a sudden, within one practice, it just fell into place when everybody just started jamming on it. And we're like, okay, so let's just do the verse. Let's just do the chorus. And then coming up with how it ends or how we're going to start it is a whole other practice, right? But, and as it starts to, and we started to record it, but then you play it live. And when you play it live, you're like, wow, I really like how we play it live better now. So let's go re-record it, but I feel like we're finally in this, in this workable system of who we are as people and individuals, and then bringing it together to make something really unique and cool.
And both our trombone player and our trumpet player, Lucas and Justice, are both classically trained musicians. Justice just graduated from the Eastman School of Music, but having them develop our horn lines and the harmonies and the way things can separate and come together. Lucas wrote just amazing horn parts for Two Trains and We Got Us that I think are the best we've done. And he's just so good at the music theory that when we can provide him with the bass of that stuff, here's the guitars and the bass lines, and you find us something, and we think it's just really hitting our stride with having those guys help with that horn stuff that we, as me as a guitar player, I can fumble around on drums and play some guitar and some bass, but never really been good at doing that horn line kind of stuff. So having them as you know, two of our newest members is phenomenal to add that extra layer. And we think, you know, Two Trains and We Got Us on this new album, I think, are two of our best songs, a lot because of those horn lines that those guys wrote.
And it's funny because there's like, you know, being the female in the band, sometimes I get you know, like quieted down in the corner, but like there's moments where I'll sing horn lines that are in my head and it drives some of them crazy, right? But Lucas in particular, like I'll try to say it and Charles like, I don't know what is that you're doing? And I'm like, you know, it sounds like this, ba 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 ba, right? And he's like, yeah, what? And then I look over at Lucas and he's like, and all of a sudden he's like, and I'm like, yes, like, I got you. So it's so funny, like, and then he'll go, that's A minor, blah blah, you know. Like, yeah, that's what I was saying, you know.
That's what I said.
That's what I said, just with my voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Jose's a horn player.
Yeah,
Yeah?
I am a horn player. Yes.
So you
yeah.
know exactly what this
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I was gonna ask, what has been one of the most challenging moments in your career as Some Ska Band, and how did you overcome it?
COVID. It was wild because I would say, I mean, that's really a better question for Charles, honestly, because the way the band has evolved over time is like we are completely different than how it was, obviously, right? Because we don't play for the company, what were those picnics and stuff? But I would say for him, it was a lot of the people coming and going, like the different members that they had. And they were good friends because they all worked together, right? So he had this idea. It started to become a band. They started to play out. He really brought a lot of that first album, It's Going Down, was really, we actually called him because we're like, we need more of this background, because we were like trying to talk amongst ourselves, like to figure it out. And he told us that a lot of his ideas over long periods of time, like he's a writer, he writes books. He wanted these books to be something and they didn't. So then he turned them into lyrics and created songs. That's how that first album is developed. But over the time, a lot of his best friends were in the band. And when they had to do something different or life happens or changes, it was really hard because it's like watching your best friend stop doing the thing that you love the most as you start to do something with it. Right. Our most recent one, I would say, would be like Neil. We love him to pieces. Our trumpet player, when we started to do the touring, he was very respectful and very sweet about it, but he was like, you know what, I don't think I want to be traveling with you guys. And like he's like I would rather, because he just got married, he's like, I'd rather be home. And we're like, all right, I get it, but we really want to like have fun and go on tours and mini tours or whatnot. And he's like, yeah, I don't. So, but that is one of Charles's best friends. He became one of our best friends. So that was hard. And then having to replace it. And then another one is kind of funny, but Joe, our bass player, he was a bass player from the beginning. He worked at Dixon Schwabel. He moved to Texas. So when he told us he was moving, we were like, what? So that was hard, but we knew he was doing what was right for him and his family and all this. And the joke goes, I got like nervous because we had shows coming up and he's leaving. So I was like, hey, are there any bass players out there, like on my social media? And I don't really realize how many people are watching my social media, but all of a sudden there was like, I could do it. And Joe's like, wow, you literally replaced me with like in a week. I was like, sorry, I thought it was going to take a lot longer, you know, but you know, those kind of moments, but we've been pretty solid since.
Yeah, that first
You could have messed with him. You could have messed with him and told him, no, we already had the replacement before you told us.
Like, there's only two members still in the band that were on that first album.
Oh, really?
I think,
okay.
you know, as the band has progressed and we keep getting, what we think is we keep getting better. It's difficult to see how, you know, the changes that we're making just don't fit with people, right? With some people, and there has been a lot of turnover over the last couple of years, but we do think, you we're still friends with a lot of the people who have left. Joe in Texas, we still text with him and message him all the time, and we're all great friends. But we are going in different directions, and taking a week off from work to go open for the Slackers is something that not everybody can do. And that's
crazy though, right? Like,
yeah, how can you not
what?
do that?
Yes, you're doing that, but
I'll pay you to play with you.
Yeah.
as Charles says, you can make dozens of nickels playing ska music. So, when you have to keep your day job to pay the mortgage, it can be, people have to make decisions.
So you said, Charles has a radio show. This is Ska Jazz. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Charles is in your band as well.
He's the saxophone player. He's the original person that wrote the name on the check that started the whole thing. Like,
Got it.
that's his, yep.
So just as you know, you were there too on Saturday and Mikey's show. It looks like Mikey interviewed you guys in regards to that. On social media, I did see you guys were packaging up some of the new album to go in and ship off. Hopefully, one's in my mail.
Yeah,
I did order one.
Yeah,
that's why you don't see it up there.
I know. I was like, "Where's the new one?"
I don't have it yet. Hopefully, it's in the postal mail right now. We don't know, but yeah, I did ask for the autograph thing.
Oh, perfect.
And then there was something else. Oh no. Also, so you touched on touring a little. Any crazy tour stories that you have to speak of? Anything that you're able to speak of?
There's our favorite place to go if you're anywhere near Connecticut, the Yoke Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
So we played, and yes, there's a million tour stories, but we all decided to go out for breakfast. And we were up really late the night before. We're like, so you're like crawling into this cafe, basically, like, hey, we should eat. And as we walk in, the one girl says something like, "Are you guys crazy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, what? So she's like, "Then I need you to sit over there." I was like, "Okay." So we all walk in and sit along this booth, and we're talking. Every band, there's so many different types of personalities in each band, right? Like, and you're all doing ska music, so that they're all wonderful, amazing, wildly different than each other personalities.
Yeah.
We're all sitting at this bar basically together, and the woman who owns it starts to throw has a chicken with like marshmallows in its mouth and starts throwing marshmallows at some of our like quietest players. And they were so funny because they're like, "What's happening?" And they're like, and I start to realize what's happening, so I start to laugh, right? And then Neil, the trumpet player at the time, this is probably why he stopped. It's probably why he gave up. But he was probably, I don't know, the most tired, let's say. And she's like, "Would you like a coffee?" And he's still unaware of everything that's happening. And he says, "Yes, please. Yes." And all of a sudden you look over and she pulls out this toilet coffee mug and like pours his coffee and it puts it right in front of him. He's like, "What the hell?" And she was like, "That one's yours." It was the funniest, like, anyway, we became friends with her, needless to say, and she's hilarious. But we went back the next day. There was like, we had two.
Is this a Waffle House?
It was called no.
Oh, the Yoke.
The Yoke.
The Yoke one. Okay.
Yes, you have to go there.
She had, fake cigarettes that she was holding while she was in her mouth while she was cooking her food. When Neil went to the bathroom, she took the top off of his stool, so all he got left with was the shaft thing coming up. It was just, we were all just so tired and so hungover from what we were doing the night before, and she just nonstop for about an hour was just going at us and at us and at us, and it was wonderful.
So funny.
Wow.
And then you wouldn't know because we're quiet. So it was like all of a sudden you're like, did that just happen? Like, what's happening right now? But yeah, so just the people that we meet and the places that we stay. And often, if we can, we stay with people that allow us to stay at their, because hotels and whatnot are expensive, but also you miss out on getting to meet the people that live there, right? So lots of fun stories about that. And people knowing you, like, here's funny, like, we are so vested in the ska community, right? So we're playing with the Slackers. We love the Slackers. It's a huge deal. Like, we love them. They're our ska fam. And I'm standing behind the merch table, and some guy walks in, and he's wearing a Scala Bim shirt. And I'm like, hey, I'm like, I love them. He's like, me too. And we know this because I met you last year. And I'm like, oh, right. Like, oh yeah, of course. And then within seconds, you have someone that's like, hey, I came to see you because I wanted to know what Some Ska Band is like on stage. And I'm like, awesome, thanks for coming. And they're like, what is ska? And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, so I start to explain. Charles has the definition of ska on the back of our business card. So you like literally pick it up, you're like, here, and you start to have that conversation. And then all of a sudden, Marcus, the bass player from the Slackers, walks over to the merch table to talk to Jess. And the person's like, oh, is he in your band? And I'm like, that's Marcus. Like, oh, what band is he in? The Slackers. Who are they? And I'm like, is this really I'm like, you are in for a treat. Like, I'm so excited you came tonight. And of course, by the time they leave, they're like, I love ska. And I'm like,
follow your merch. Yeah.
Yeah. But stuff like that just completely blows my mind, because you expect everybody to be there for them.
Yeah.
And even if they are there for you, you expect them to know what ska is, or right. But I mean, and you see these people, and then the next time you're anywhere near that location, they come and they keep coming, and it just it keeps building. And that's my favorite part, I think, is building the community.
Definitely.
Awesome. Now, I was checking out your live feed on TikTok of your performance, and I noticed your outfit was all checkered. I was like, oh, nice outfit, right? And so, the SSB mom on TikTok, she's all, you live, you was it? She said she lives in checkers. She said. Now, do you have a lot of outfits, checkered outfits and stuff?
That is all she wears. So when she goes to work, it's black and white and checkers. Her pajamas are black and white and checkers. Literally, I don't think she owns more than 2 or 3 things that are not black and white and checkers. It is literally how she lives.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not a costume she puts on for being on stage. Yeah. Right now we're just, hanging out, going to work. She's got everything is. She has a couple of things that are not. And like when she goes to work and she's wearing like a blue dress, like everybody stops her in the hall and says, are you okay? Or is that really Tricia? Or what'd you do with Tricia? The aliens have invaded you. It is literally how she lives.
And I work at Central Office. So it's really funny because people at Central Office dress up in like ties and suits. And I tried dressing very fancy when I first started working there. But over time, I have this thing I call bougie checkers. So like I'll have my like suits, they still have checkers on them. I might have plaid. I have plaid stuff sometimes that, still
black and white.
Still black and white checkers. But people also know, like, it's funny because some SSB mom actually at one of our shows was like, she wears them because they're cute. And I was like, yeah, checkers are not cute. Like, there's nothing cute. Like, I know I don't look cute in checkers, but I'm like, it's the whole two-tone movement. And as things get crazier politically, like, I think I've just completely I don't know, everything is now checkers, right? Like, it started out just a little bit here and there, but as things got crazier, I was like, no, I am a rainbow of checkers. Yeah. So, and
maybe your work will let you get away with the houndstooth pattern.
So I do have people that will bring me, like, they're like, look, Trish, I'm wearing your look, and it is houndstooth or the right, because it is almost here. Yeah,
not quite, but
yeah. And I was like, it's not really checkers, but it's close. It's like a triangle checker kind of deal.
Yeah.
So you guys have you played Supernova in 2021. So we know you play festivals. You're also going to play Scotchester in July 12th on that. Is there any other plans for any other festivals around that we don't know of?
We play, so that's actually a really good thing, because if there's anybody that's doing a festival that would like to bring us out there, we have a lot of people asking us to do like North Carolina, South Carolina, which is awesome because I love warm weather and it's not warm here. But like Jess actually, from the Slackers was like, you guys need to play a festival and then you can do the smaller shows, like as you know, because that way, you know, you could break even at least maybe with all the different places that we stay. But if there are any, we'd love to do. We would love to do Nitro Croydon. Darren's family lives right there. We have yet to play that festival, but locally we have a thing called the Fairport Music Fest, which is a huge. I can't even. It's so ginormous
3
around
day,
here.
hundreds of bands.
Yeah,
3
and
days, 11 stages.
they raise thousands of dollars for Golisano Children's Hospital. So that happens every year. And so we play that one. And there's another one. What's the other one?
Steel Rail.
Steel Rail Festival also raises money. And we play that one. So we do any festivals definitely around here. But yeah, we've been playing a lot of more locally, the festivals, but we'd love to branch out. Yeah, that would be great. And we actually, somebody just reached out and I was like, well, send me some venues. They're like, here's the venues. I was like, all right, it's on.
We've got a nice 6 run set up through South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia.
Very nice.
Making that happen.
Yep.
So
And
go ahead. Sorry.
so there's also, and I can't remember his name right now, but he's a Rastafarian that actually runs, it's a family business winery where, and I'll say it like this because you could do your research, you'll find it out. But his family did all of the Catholic wine. So you know when they pray over the wine, what's that called? The
Sacrament?
Yes, like the official Catholic wine that every
Okay.
church used.
Oh,
His
wow.
family has been doing that. When COVID hit, they couldn't do the wine, right? Because of
We're allowed
COVID.
in church.
So him and his wife decided to open up the winery to like more for bands and things like that. And so people could actually show up and tour and also have events.
Mhm.
So I showed up and I had no idea. I just happened to be there for somebody that was playing. And he knew me right away and said, I'm actually a Rastafarian. I go to Jamaica every February. And I was like, wait, what? Because I'm like, kind of know the history of this place. And then he tells me that he wants to do a huge event where we could bring in like a bunch of bands. I don't know if I want to do like all female led one year, like make it really different and fun. But you can actually stay on the premises. It becomes like a camping site. It's just this phenomenal thing. So I'm in the process of working on that, but it will take a whole year to plan it. So it would be next summer. But people
Oh,
will
that sounds cool.
I have a female fronted band that I manage if
Oh,
if you
yeah.
can get them out there.
Yes, because that would be, can you imagine? And then we could all like have tents and hang out.
So you guys also, this is part of my other last question, but you two personally attend festivals when you're not playing as well?
Yeah,
Supporting the scene? Yeah.
yep. And any ska show that comes within driving distance, or if we were in where did we see Save
Ferris
Save Ferris.
in Phoenix.
We were in Phoenix for something and we're like, what ska bands are playing? Oh, Save Ferris. So we went, you know, like anytime there's a
Nice.
ska show within our ability to get there, we'll go to
Yeah.
support.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now I was noticing you guys on the show on the Albany show, the drummer, you guys the Slackers were using the same drums. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I learned that your drummer had a leg injury or something, and the Slackers drummer had to fill in or something like that, right?
Oh,
Or something?
I don't know.
No?
In
Oh,
Albany?
yeah.
So
I don't know.
I mean, I'm like, did we
when-
miss that?
When we run with the Slackers, we backline bass and drums for them.
Mhm.
But they don't have to put them in their van. That's kind of how they do it. But I know Steve, our drummer, has played with the Pilfers on multiple occasions when their drummer has been unable to make it. I think that may be
That's probably what you're
what you're
thinking.
thinking
Okay.
of.
Yeah, I was talking to SSB mom, I believe, and yeah, she said something about a leg injury, but okay.
Oh, she has a leg injury.
Oh,
She does. Yes.
that's what it was.
She just got surgery. She's like our number one like family member. She's called now. She's like, yeah, the SSB mom. She totally brings food. So I love her to pieces. So how we met was okay, so really quick. Her mom used to be the person that would go on tour with the Grateful Dead. So when she was just a baby, she'd be bouncing on Jerry Garcia's leg. Like she grew up in a touring type community. I mean, the Grateful Dead's community, right?
Yeah.
Her mom also supported Bim Scala Bim. So
Oh.
and I'll pretend we're the same age, but when I was in my band back in high school, right? That band used to open for Bim and Bosstones and everybody. And when we played with Bim, she was the little kid that was allowed at the bar that would be brought up on the stage. And so I met her then. So in 2019, when Bim asked that same band to come and do like a little mini reunion, we show up and she was the merch girl for Bim that night. And Dan was like, you remember her? She was like this big. And so we connected that night and she helped the merch for the Miggities. And then when I joined Some Ska Band, she's like, I'm going to come check out Some Ska Band. And so she then became like Some Ska Band's ultimate person. So
Yeah.
she comes to any show
Okay.
she can and helps out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Awesome.
that's so funny that you were just mentioning that, because my next question is to segue into that. Trish, you joined Some Ska Band in 2020, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think
End of
yeah,
2019.
yep.
Now, that was after your prior band, the Miggities. I
Oh,
could see a really young Trish right there. I also
yeah.
I also have a Miggity shirt on
Oh,
that the band sent me months ago. I think you helped me actually get some of the stuff.
oh
Uh,
yeah, because the thing wasn't working, right?
yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't working there. So, can you briefly discuss your time in that band, not to take away from Darrin or Some Ska Band, just a brief history since you touched on that about your high school band.
So that same original story of the guitar player next door playing, that's Johnny B, and he's the guitarist in that band. So same thing. They started with like I don't know, Davanos big on vocals, which I think he was singing words, but I'm not sure. It was more of like a screamy type thing. When I joined, that band was with Megan Loomis, who's now like on. She was on tour with Wicked last I knew, and then she does a lot of awesome stuff in New York City, like musical stuff. But we then were the two female lead singers. Everything was harmonies. I love that band. We actually did our first CD in 1995 is when that came out. And I don't think anybody knew that we were, oh, we'll pretend it was 2025. Yeah, that's us recording that CD. And that's 1995. CDs were not a thing you did, right? Like that's on 8-track and whatnot. Like that was hard to do. But we put that CD out and Andy, the bass player, the one that's like next to me in the white shirt, ran it. I think it was can't remember which, it was one of the Bosstones. And if I say the wrong name, I'll get in trouble. But one of the Bosstones was in a phone booth, by the way, calling someone. And he's like, hey, check out my CD. And he looked at him and he was like, okay. And that's, you expect that to go away. That happens. And meanwhile, we're setting up our own shows locally. I mean, we're high school kids, but then again, there was nothing else to do. So 250 people would be at every one of our shows because we had people from Pittsford Sutherland, we had people from Pittsford Minden, and we had Megan from School of the Arts. You had 3 high schools, right? And people all started just flooding in and coming, and we wrote all our own music. So that becomes kind of huge and crazy. And Dan from Bim Scala Bim says, why don't you guys open for us when we come into town? And I can't even tell you, like, that was like, yes, like, because that's Johnny B's favorite band, like I said, right? We get to open up for them. And then, of course, we got to open up for Steady Ernest. Mm-hmm. Well, then Chuck Wren distributes that everywhere. So we had like funniest story ever is the Bosstones go to Japan. And at this point, they're huge, right? Maybe 1996, 1997 at this point, they're huge. And the person interviewing Dickie says, "Hey, do you know the Miggities?" And he's like, "Really? Yeah, I do." Like, what? Like, so funny. But that's because of Chuck, right? Distributing all our stuff. And you come back here and you've got the Bosstones were like, "Okay, why don't you open up for us when we come through town?" And then Bucket and Noah from Moon Records puts us on Moon Records, and then we played with everybody all the time, and it was so much fun. But yeah, like I don't think anybody knew we were kids. And fast forward around 2013, so think about that in terms of Some Ska Band, right? Like parallel universes. I have kids at this point. I've put music behind. I'm teaching in the city. I've decided I'm not doing music, which is stupid. Like I always do music. And I hear that the Toasters are in town. So years later, because I won't go into the that was devastating, the breakup with the Miggies. But 2000, everybody went to college and had crazy jobs. 2013, I walk into the Bug Jar in Rochester by myself, second guessing whether or not I should be there. Like I'm by myself. I haven't been in this community in a long time. And I walk up to the table and you've got the Toasters merch right there. And it says Toasters going to England. And I'm staring down at the table and I'm like, are the Toasters really going to England? Like traveling across, like going on a plane to play shows? And all of a sudden you hear, he goes, "I don't know, Tricia, why don't you ask Bucket?" And I look up and it's Bucket. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, he goes, "It's fine. Get up here and give me a hug." So he recognizes me right away. I go up to hug him. And we have a huge, I wouldn't say huge, but we have a very tight-knit ska community of people here. And while I'm hugging him, people are coming over to take pictures and all this. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me get out of your way." He's like, "Girl, they're not here to see me. They're here to see the Miggity." And he goes, "Turn and smile." And I was like this. And then they're all taking pictures. Like, "Are you serious?" And I start looking at their faces and they're like, "Tricia." I was like, "Oh my God," because our music kept getting played and whatnot, right? Even though I was like hiding. And Bucket goes, "You need to be back up on that stage." And it was a very powerful moment. So you take that and then you take 2019 when I'm laying in my bed trying to put Jackson to sleep. And I'm like texting with Dan, right? Like late at night, he's like, "Hey, we're gonna come to Rochester, da da da." I was like, "Yeah, I wish the Miggities would open for you." And I kind of threw it out there as like a joke, really, right? And he's like, "Get the band back together." I was like, "Wait, what?" That's funny. So then I reach out to Andy and Johnny B and I say, "Hey, would you guys want to open for BIM?" And again, I'm thinking they're going to yell at me, whatever, "Trisha, get over it," whatever. I don't know. Like I'm expecting the worst. And they're like, "Yeah, I'd do that." I was like, "Wait, what?" So like literally I could feel my entire self. Like I was like I'd been hidden for so long. I was so excited. And I was like, "Is this really happening?" And then, right, we get to do the two shows. So that's what brings us all back into the ska world. And when they played Supernova, Charles was like, "We're going to be playing Supernova." I was like, "Perfect." I went as Some Ska Band and expecting to be at a festival with Some Ska Band. But when I walked through and I'm walking around and all of a sudden I'm seeing all of these people that I know, because at this point, everybody's switched bands, changed bands, like, how they do. Dan wasn't there that year. So like, because it's right after COVID, he couldn't get back from Panama. So Buckley John from Gangster Fun is like singing for him, and he's like, "Trisha," because we played with them. And I'm like, all right, this is why I love my ska fam, because like every good relative, right? It's like all hanging out together, and you just have all of these memories just come flooding back. And I'm like, this is where I need to be. So
That's
totally
awesome.
wanted, but yeah.
That's so cool.
So it all connects, eventually. And then coming back. Oh, and when I first was going to audition for Some Ska Band, the secret is I was like, I don't really know these guys and I'm not really sure. So I reached out to Dan and I was like, "Hey, I'm like, some ska band just asked me like if I'd be their singer. And he's like, girl, get back up on that stage. He goes, you get up on that stage, you write music. And he's like, we'll play together. He's like, that's what you need to be doing. And I was like, all right, I'll go audition. And then, and now we're 5 years later.
Nice.
That's awesome. I have one more question, I guess. How does the chemistry between band members influence your live performance and studio recordings?
How's the chemistry?
The chemistry of writing the songs is, I think, what had,
Yeah.
well, I'm sure is what how we ended up getting together as we're sitting there developing these things, creating things together.
Outrageous. Read those lyrics. Like, how do you like what? And then that there was also, let's be honest, there was also all the lyrics as we're singing them. Like that's a funny.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we're sitting there like, because we're all like, you already are bonded and close, like it's a family, right? Like you, like I already have a love for him, and you're like the wingman. If somebody's trying to like bother the other person, you're like, hey, like you already have that relationship anyway. But
Yeah.
we're sitting there working on music and writing these songs. It took us a long time to actually sit down and start working on them together because of life and business and whatever. And the moment, it was funny. I think it was outrageous, maybe. Nope. It was let's be honest. Because that line, it says, stare right at the floor. Like when someone sees me, I stare right at the floor, right? Like undetected, that's for sure. So it's that whole thing of like, you start to feel something, but you put that in its place, right? And we're writing it. All of a sudden it was like, that hit me. And I like look over at Darrin and I'm like, you just feel this like connection that I was like, whoa, what is that? And at that moment, he like looked at me like he felt that same thing. And he goes to like put his guitar down because he's gonna, try to communicate about this. And I was like, you put that, I go, can I swear? Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
We swear all the time.
I was like, you pick that fucking guitar right back up, Darrin. I was like, that is no. And he was like, okay. And then he just goes back to playing. And I kept saying, it's like as if nothing happened. But it was like that moment of, oh my gosh, right? And I wasn't expecting him to be like, wait, what? Because I was, it's all in my head. Like, how do you know? But apparently my face shows a lot more to it, right?
I think as everybody saw that while we have had this changeover in the band, I think that all the people we've brought in, it's really been more about the connection that we have with people and how we get along with them than, can you shred this or can you play this high note on a trumpet stuff. It's all about that relationship because it's so important when you're writing and when you're recording and when you're performing, that you can have that relationship, that you can have that look to each other, and that you, when you leave the stage, you're not walking in different directions, right? We're all still sleeping together. We're all
not like that
into
though.
Right. So we're still 2 hotel rooms for 8 people and spending a lot of time in cars, and it just doesn't work if you can't build that relationship, right? So it's really Charles always said his goal has always been to bring in musicians who are better than him. And while that may be true, I think the more important part of that is the people that we relate to, that we can get along with well, right. Because it is so important to all of those things that you mentioned.
Yeah, and same philosophies too, similar. We might have different ideas and different interests, but like the whole ska, everything behind that, you start to gravitate toward people that are like going to be on stage with you, and hopefully they understand your lyrics and they support them, right? I mean, it's a huge community, but you're also trying to spread a message and call people in, not call people out, right? But you have to have some basic philosophies that are the same.
Right. I think that's true of all the ska stuff, right? You're not going to see a lot of ska musicians who are right wing, especially on this time. We just put out those
Charles,
the No 47 bumper stickers that have been, he's had to reprint those 4, 5, 6 times because that's what this community is about, and that's the same thing within the band, right? People like Steve is just so passionate about some of these social work stuff, and that's what Tricia does for her job, right?
I do social studies
after work she's a part of all of this
anti-racism
work, and that's that's another common bond that we all have in the band that really helps bring us together.
And he sends out those stickers to anybody who requests those for free. I
Yeah,
noticed.
free. Yeah, he prints them and he mails them, all on his nickel.
And they were like $5 a piece.
Yeah.
So I was like, dude, and he's like, it's not coming out of the band money. I'm like, I'm not questioning that. I'm just saying that's a lot of money.
That's the first place he went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That song was written. If you take the CD for
Better Together?
no, I don't remember which one it's on.
Oh no, it's technically on the first rendition is on It's Going
I was
Down.
on It's Going Down. If you put it in the CD player, the date of Mr. Trump's first inauguration comes up on the CD screen, because that song "End of the World" was written saying, when he won the presidency for the first time. And the lyrics of that song, which are the words that are on that that bumper sticker, are, it's not the end of the world yet, but we're getting there.
And I think we have a live version. If you look at the live, it's more of what we do it now, but you'll get to hear, if you hear that album, you'll hear the change from how the band has evolved lyrics wise too. It's wild.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's looking at it right now.
Yeah, I just popped it in
Yeah.
so we could see. Oops.
If it's not the end of the world. And the interesting part too is depending on when you play that song. So we played it all during Biden's administration, right? Like you got the crossover. And when Trump lost, it was almost like you get a little nervous because the lyrics say, can't recount, can't go back, can't believe all this shit. And I was like, well, actually, we're singing that during like the time when he's questioning. I was like, I hope people do their research. But then now, here it comes again. And they're like, oh, I was like, all right. So it's interesting how you interpret lyrics. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But it was about him, not about Biden. So it's just interesting. But the terminology, and we joke with Charles, we say we're all a little bit psychic because some of the words that we say, like robots take over the world and then AI comes out. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Mhm.
So
You write the lyrics and it comes true.
right. I'm gonna
It's like a Black Mirror episode or something.
That's good. It's like a Simpsons writer.
Yeah.
Now let's hear about your new venture, Monkey Do Studios.
Tricia and I, when we purchased this house, we looked for something that would have room for a studio. We've had some really great producers, mixers, people recording some of these albums. Yep. Sam Polizzi, who did that first album, who's done some of our work for Specialized since then, is absolutely amazing.
He's working on Prince's stuff. Well, I'm not supposed to say that. Shh, no. Cut that.
Are you guys contributing a track to the new Specialized for the female, the femme?
We are.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of our favorite things to do. Is jump on some of those Specialized things. It really lets us, take some of this music in different directions than we normally would.
Right.
But as you know, with ska bands, you don't make a lot of money when you're dividing things by 8, 9, 10 people here. So, especially when we're trying to, self-produce some of this stuff and get them all out ourselves. So, we decided we were going to put a studio together. So the new album that we have was recorded all here,
mastered here,
mixed here, mastered here. Everything we did in-house, and our plan all along was to kind of make that a real business, and that's what we're going to do. So we have the recording studio here, we have a production company, and we'll see where Monkey Do Records goes as far as a label. But
Some Ska Band will be on it.
Nice.
So is this like in the basement or in the main wing?
It's in the basement, but there's a separate entrance to it. So the woman one of the reasons we got this house, the woman who owned it before us, had a hair salon that she did out of here. So it's all completely separated from the house. So it's kind of the basement and it's off to the side.
And one of the awesome things is it's such a big, it's kind of like, it's a house, I don't know, from like the 30s that different families have kept building onto. So it's got quite a few rooms and a lot of space. and it's actually got a really nice backyard. So another cool thing is when the Ska fam comes through Scotchester, they can stay with us. So it saves them money, like from hotels and stuff.
Right.
My daughter gets a little mad if people are in her room and she doesn't know about it, but she's at college, so yeah. But like Angela Moore, right, was
When he came
sleeping.
through with Dr. Mad Vibes, the whole band stayed here. They said it saved them like $800 in hotel rooms, but she surprised us that next morning, coming home from college on a Saturday morning when we weren't
Oh,
expecting her, and she comes into the kitchen and says, "There's a grown ass man in my bed."
And I was like, okay, because they like literally it was the first time, and we had people sleeping on the couch. We had, the whole band was here. So I'm like, okay, keep your voice down. She's like, I will not. And I'm like, so I like pushed her outside, like, why don't you go do some stuff and we'll take, but it's hilarious because she's like, I don't care if it's the president. I'm like, you should look these people up. I don't care. So she pushes back a little bit, but she has two rooms technically. She kind of decided both of them were hers. So I'm like,
Oh.
no, it's basically two guest rooms when you're at college. So
So I
perfect.
think she's not a ska fan then?
So
No, not at 18.
I wish. So here's a funny. My youngest, Jackson, he's 15. He'll be 16 in a month. Huge now into music. He used to like was anti-music. Now he's into music. He has a guitar. He's learning how to write, but he's into things like Cemetery. He loves Alex G. He's what's the other band that he's huge, but like indie, right? Which is awesome. And I'm like, all right, well, Ska's got lots of different subgenres. He's like, no. I'm like, oh my gosh. So like I go to show him something. No. So we brought him on two of the shows with the Slackers, and we're sharing a green room. Usually there's different green rooms for the band, but like we're sharing the green room. And so Jackson's up there on his phone, like, you know, and Dave Hilliard walks in and I'm like, Dave, this is Jackson. And he's like, hi, Jackson, all polite. And Jackson's like, heh. And then puts back down. And I was like, there you go, buddy. Like I was like, so they have no like idea who anybody is. And then today, Vic, they're coming from Ithaca and going to Buffalo. So Vic and he's riding around with Danny, who takes the pictures. She's got the awesome Ginger Snaps photography. She's phenomenal. And so they're like, let's get a bite to eat while we're driving through Rochester. So we met them out, and I'm like, hey, we're also checking out Ross Dress for Less so Vic could get a new shirt. And that's Jackson's favorite place to go. So I was like, do you want to come with us? And he's like, I'm not going with you to hang out with your friends. And I'm like, it's Vic. You saw him. He's like, yeah, no. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But that's totally their.
But he heard a couple of the songs as we're mixing this new album, and we're down in the basement, constantly changing mixes and fixing things. And you played him a couple of our songs, and he actually dug a couple of songs off the new album. And he'd see in the basement, he'd yell down, he's like, when are you going to release that? So I want to hear that
the
stuff.
beginning of Let's Be Honest, he's like, that I like. And I'm like, okay.
Hey, you're slowly breaking them down.
Yes.
I have three. I have 32, 18, and 16. None like ska.
Yeah.
Are they? It's like a rebellion, right?
It must be. I don't know why. I don't know why.
So
Weird.
funny.
My daughter is still pretty. Last summer she came out to one of our shows, and we were playing a big local festival. There's only 3 or 4 bands that play there. It's an art festival, and she told me after that, it was pretty cool. Your music was okay, but it was pretty cool seeing you up there on the stage with all the people around. And like, yeah, I'm living my 16-year-old dream, right?
Yeah.
We will.
So Trish, we're gonna ask a question about you. Let's talk about your track with Dan Vitale, "Give Up the Good," also with Andres Carter.
Oh yeah.
So I saw that video. Love the track. Oh, by the way, we just interviewed Dan on Sunday. He said to say hello to
I love
you.
him.
And that's I don't know if you can see this right here.
Yeah.
It's a little cut. I tried to look good for Dan, and I cut myself because I'm a total Bim Scala Bim nerd. So I just wanted to say that. So let's talk about that track that you have with him.
So super awesome. During COVID, right? Like we're all kind of stuck in our places. And Dan reached out to me and he's like, hey, would you do, I mean, he could say yes, the answer is yes. Like, why even ask? But like, he's like, can you do background vocals for my friend, which is Andres Cotter? I'm like, sure, send it on over. And so he sent the track. And of course, the song's awesome, right? Like I'm listening to it. And at first I tried to do it on like whatever computer technology I had for school, because that was like what I had access to at the time. And then I finally put it on like a little bit better of the system. I don't remember, it was audio or something. But I basically I just sang a bunch of different versions and variations of the background of what I thought would sound cool. And it was really funny because I sent it to him and I was like, hey, let me know which ones you like, because in my brain, I was gonna make them better, right? And he's like, they're good. And I was like, all right, which ones? And then the next thing I knew, they had taken it and it was all there and he used them all. And I was like, okay, I really hope you like them because, and he's like, yeah, no, they're great. So that was awesome. And then when he came up with the idea for the video, right, it was actually one of his awesome people from Steady Earnest, right, that does the video out of California. And he's like, let's do that. And they of course send me the little snapshots and I'm like, that's so not fair. Like I will send you video, but you realize I am not on a beach. Like, like it was the middle of winter. It was like 3 feet of snow outside. I'm like, but we'll do it. And then that ended up being funny because it's like the 3 different worlds really, right, coming together. So it ended up
That's
being
funny because he said the exact same thing about the 3 different worlds. Didn't he?
Yeah.
Didn't he, Jose?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
That was fun.
He's a great guy. I've been a huge Bim Scala Bim fan. I told him since 1990, so it was like this is like a dream come true with being able to interview him. And I don't know if he thought I was a little too nerdy, but
No,
oh well.
He's like one of my best friends. Like I love him to pieces. Like when we did our little Miggity thing, right? Like it was cute because he looked at me, he goes, you better not wait another 20 years, I'll be dead. And I was like, oh my God. Like, that is right. So
yeah,
funny.
he was my first ska man crush.
Yeah. And well deserving. Like honestly, somebody just asked, I think it was, when did we play? 2 nights ago. Somebody just said to me, they leaned in really close and they had a BIM shirt on and they said, I won't give you the other band name, but they're like, why did BIM not hit it huge and X Band did, right? And I'm like, that's an excellent question. And I said, honestly, I'm like, they were offered things so many times, but Dan, their whole personality, the whole band was all about being themselves, never being owned by any kind of major anybody. Like they wanted to be able to do things the way they knew to do them and put it out there. And honestly, like I think they have so many like I love them as people 100%. But even if I didn't know them, their music, anytime I play any of their CDs, all of a sudden I've gained a bunch of new fans for them. There's so many stories with them. I love them to pieces. And I think that, yes, they could have been on Columbia Records and totally deserved to be. But in reality, like they did so much more, for the community and especially Boston and the area and just the way they were the first band. Like when we went to play a festival with them back when I'm a kid, right? And Vinny's out there with his dog and he's like, you want to throw the ball? I'm like, what? Okay. Like, and this is Johnny B's favorite band, that was my first real understanding of what ska bands are, like the true real ska community family, people supporting each other. They're in the audience when you're up there, you're in the audience when they're up there. And it's just like a totally different musical community than I'll say any other genre that exists. But BIM is the ones that set that for me. Yeah. Right? Like their personalities and everything.
Yeah. I wonder if he had wrote that, what is that, Good Dog Ska from about
that was about that dog. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the dog is in the track, like barking.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, why is that? I forgot what the name of that, the one with the saddle.
Jack. Was it Jack? It's either Jake or Jack. Don't tell Jack.
The dog's name? Oh.
Yeah, forgive me, Vinny, but like I think it's Jack. But yeah.
So you guys each, Trish, you touch base on your social studies teacher. Darrin, what's your real occupation? Because we know Scott doesn't support, life.
By day, I am an environmental engineer. I'm a
Oh, wow.
consultant, so I clean up the messes that have been made to our environment over the last
Oh,
100 years or so. Yeah, it's a great job. Always learning. It's a wonderful thing to do by day. It really is.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Like life changing. I'll get in trouble again, but like he does some pretty amazing things that really fix the drinking water for everyone in ways that other companies can't do. His
Right.
company does. So, and they have such good hearts and they really want to, I mean, I know companies say they want to make a difference, but they literally will look and say, where can we make a difference next? And do that, you know? So that's
nice.
That is awesome. Good
Yeah.
job. Good job on that too. Both of you, very important positions. What- the teaching one's very important too, because the future.
especially right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, back in the day, comps were a really big deal for learning about bands. Now it seems like comps are kind of coming back, whether it be physical media or whether it be digital. Do you feel that the comps that your band has been on has gained you more exposure?
Oh, I'd say for sure, right? I would say. I'm trying to think of like, yeah, for sure. Especially like, I mean, okay, totally biased, but like I'm thinking about my first exposure to ska music, right? Like I like them, I get the CD, and then there's all these other bands I don't know, and I'm going to be listening to them. And I'll also say yes in the sense that anytime we're on one, I put that in and I listen to every single song,
Hmm.
right? And I'm like, who's
Mhm.
that band? Who did that? Like Jackie. Um,
Bim's old backup singer
Hmm.
doing
what's that
the
song?
Billy Idol song on the
Oh,
latest
yeah, Rebel Yell Ska.
Rebel Yell.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that version. She did
Yeah,
such a good job. And I love Jackie. Like, but like
yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I hear her stuff a lot. Like we send stuff back and forth. But like as I'm just playing it through the list and that song pops on, I was like, oh, I love that. Who is it? I'm like, oh my God, it's Jackie. Like, of course I know she did that song, but like I really love it. So
I don't think we've turned down one in the last 3 or 4 years. Taking something, including the BIM one that we did.
yep, specialized.
That was a
Hmm.
specialized,
It
was it?
was, yeah.
BIM was okay.
Yeah.
Um, it stretches us, as musical people, as songwriters. We're starting now to play "I Can't Drive 55" on tour. We played it a couple times the last couple weeks, and some people, you can see some of the people who are our age, who were or my age, who were around during that thing, who all of a sudden are running to the front and jumping around and stuff. Nothing we would have done if it wasn't for these comps.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I definitely would have never done that song. I wouldn't have.
That's
and for
that's
such
Sammy
a good
Hagar,
cause
right?
too, right? The
Yeah.
specialized stuff is for such a good cause, so
Yeah,
we'll always take the time to try to
yeah.
get something on that album.
Yeah, and also there's stuff that you won't know about that like when people I just love writing melodies and lyrics and stuff. So we've got a lot of different people like, "Hey, can you do something on this or do something in that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Um like Vic Rosario connected I'm going to think of his name now. Uh I'm trying to Father Goose music. They're really close. He passed away. The guy from Father Goose. But Vic was like, "Hey, can you add some background vocals to this?" And it was like Sunshine and Lemonade or something.
Yeah, yeah. Look that
Sunshine.
one up.
Yeah, that's different. But
Sunshine and Lemonade.
that guy um was like, "Yeah, do that." I was like, "Sure." So I added definitely it's not how I normally sound and it's a different type of bat, but I love that. So I did that and he had his project, one of his songs, I ended up it got a Grammy. And the wild thing about it is I loved it so much. It's in English and Spanish for one. It's about like that we got to look up because you got to know that one. Um, I can make it. The song I Can Make It from Father Goose Music. If you look that one up, I'm not on it, but because of that working like collaboration, I found that song. And then when I was doing Zoom with 75 second graders, um, I played that song, right? Just to get them started because it was also I had a dual language in there with Spanish and English class. So I tried to find everything that was Spanish and English And when I played that, you should have seen not only the kids, but all the adults in the Zoom were like, what is that? And so even though I try to do a different song every morning, once I played that song, it was that song for the next 4 months every morning because they loved
Wow.
it. And anytime they were feeling any kind of sad or whatever, they're like, can you play? I can make it. And I'm like, absolutely. And of course, that's the song that went really well for them. And I was like, as it should have, because it's phenomenal. But yeah, so I mean, the compilations also give you new connections with people too to do fun
Mm.
things on the side.
Yeah, it's such a tight-knit community, even across the pond, you just never know.
Oh yeah,
I mean, yeah, because I mean, I've been reaching out to a lot of international bands that we're going to start interviewing the next few months, and I was just surprised by the overwhelming, you know, uh, response that we get that
yeah,
they want to
absolutely.
share their stories.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
the funny part about Facebook is if you look, I'm like an influencer now. I put it in quotes because it just happened one day with I was unaware. But like I just had friends on Facebook, and the one day that I became an influencer was because I had 600 people in like the course of 2 days all of a sudden follow me. And I was like, wait, what happened? And they were all out of Mexico.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, something is going on. And then it hit me that our music was being played in some station in Mexico. And they found me, and it was all like, and that's what
Oh,
now whatever that thing is on Facebook. Like, if you try to friend me, it just, you can only follow. That's why,
Yeah.
because of how many
Oh.
people did it on that day or those 2 days. So,
oh, wow.
Oh.
yeah,
You're
that was
gonna
cool.
you're gonna have to have many different Facebook accounts like Chris Murray does.
I saw that.
I'm not taking friends
I
anymore.
was like, you
Yeah.
better not be ditching me because I'm pretty sure I'm on 2 of those accounts. I'll know if you unfriend me, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's funny. Uh, so where can our followers and your fans find your music both digitally and physical media?
Now, on every platform you could possibly list, right? I
Yep.
think he just posted
Every
it.
streaming platform, as well as all the social media. So you can use our music on TikTok and Instagram.
Please do.
But I do think most of our physical media is only available through our website,
Yeah, Bandcamp.
someskaband.com.
Yep. And we have a link tree now.
I saw
There's
that.
so many funny things because there's so many different ages in our band and different levels of technology, sort of.
Mhm.
So it's really funny because as this stuff come out, they're like, "What did you do?" We're like, "Well, we created this." Like, obviously, I'm the one that does the TikTok. Instagram is either me, Steve, or Charles, but you could tell, like, when you go through, you'll be like, "That was Charles, that was Tricia, that was Steve," and it's kind of funny to watch that. Facebook is all Charles. Steve might have access to Facebook too, but usually it's Charles. Um, but we're on everything, and anything new that comes out, like I think Charles, like, I just joined this new thing called Blue Link or whatever. And I was like,
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky, you know. But he's like, I'm on it, and and then the lemon. What was it? The lemon off of TikTok when that started to go away. But
Yeah. So you have red
Jose's the
note?
TikTok guy. He's the TikTok guy. I don't know anything about TikTok.
I love it. Oh, here you go. Ready? So he just made a post. Charles made a post. So it's like, where are we? And if you see, it's like he listed every streaming platform. Right?
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Wow.
But
I don't even know what boom play is, but we're on it. We're
yeah,
on boom play
Play.
if that's your thing.
And now I'm gonna look it up. But it actually took us. Charles was like, I'm gonna release it on a Friday, and the whole band agrees, right? I'm gonna release it on the Friday. We're like, perfect. We will let everybody know it's coming out, and we tell everybody it's coming out. And then when he puts it on, what did he put on first?
Thank you.
Bandcamp, right? He puts it on Bandcamp, and then he's like, don't worry, it's gonna be on all streaming platforms. And I saved the release date for Friday the 12th, right? And I'm like, great. And then you read the fine print, and it's like being held to make sure that it's your music, double checking, like, because I can't drive, we had to pay royalties for. So to make sure that you want to do that. It's not our song, right? It's a cover. So that was
It takes extra
holding
long,
it.
and they hold the whole album until they can confirm that you have permission to play I
Oh.
Can't Drive 55. So we thought everything was coming out on Friday. And if we didn't have
Oh,
a cover on the album, it would have, but they held it
They held
for
it.
an extra couple days.
Oh,
But it was
wow.
funny because we're all watching all the different platforms that we use, and it's like, it's not on Spotify, and
It's not on Apple.
Charles is like, that's not a bad thing. Only on Bandcamp. And then all of a sudden, as it came out, and I'm like trying to do TikToks, but I like with the new shows, I try to use the most recent music, and I've kind of gotten a little hang of like, you should probably pick one song for a little bit, especially one we're gonna play maybe. And I'm like I'm like, darn it, it's not here yet, but these two are. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, this one's here now. And Darren's like, yay, use that one. So it became kind of fun. Now all of the songs are up there, but it took until I think yesterday for every song to be on every platform.
oh wow.
Is Patreon one of the ones you're on too?
So I think Charles is on Patreon now, and I follow someone that's on Patreon. She goes by the name Chewbacca. She's all into the politics, and I love her because she does like, I feel like she just does every perspective possible, and she's so smart. So I love, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do Patreon. So that might be the next
We are
endeavor.
not on Patreon.
But Charles is.
Yeah,
So-
I just follow Jer and what is it? What's his name? Aaron Carnes, in Defense of Scott, his show also.
Yeah,
The same thing
that's
like this. Yeah. So those are
Yeah.
the only ones I know, but I didn't know about Patreon till, about a month or so ago.
Right. And I think even TikTok, it's been a while now, but at first, when I first put the hashtag ska, it was crickets. So I was like, oh no, ska is going to take over this community if I got to be on it. Right. So then now I feel like there's so many ska related everything on it. So that's
Mhm.
exciting.
That is. So what
Yep.
does I'm sorry, I know Jose didn't have any more questions, so I'm not cutting him off.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah.
So what does the future hold for Some Ska Band?
I would say more music that's being written as we're trying to finish the album we just did. And we kind of have these little mini funny battles about trying to get who's going to write the next song because we have so many to come out. And Charles was like, okay, but I got a couple too, and Dave's got some too, and we got to have a balance. And we're like,
Like
okay.
you said, the two songs that we did that are on this album, when we connected were a couple years ago. So we have a couple of years worth of music in the backlog.
Wow.
We do have a personnel change.
Oh, that's right. So our player Jesse, who we love, who just did the Slacker stuff with us, is kind of he's got a family that he hangs out with or takes it's his family. I don't know why I just said that. His family, and they live kind of far away from band practice. He's kind of pulled back a little bit currently to kind of focus on that. And Julie Keller, a female bass player, just kind of stepped up to the plate, and she hasn't played in 10 years, she said.
She was in some ska bands in California
Some ska band.
back about 10 years ago.
Mhm.
We have some common friends in the ska community.
Dan Kay,
who was playing with Angelo, who slept here. Is very good friends with her. They played in a band back in California, and we're like, you could have looked out of our deck and seen her house.
She lives
from
two
where we live.
streets away. So we were looking for a bass player. There's this guy Robert I absolutely adore in the local community, and he was like, I don't know if I can learn that stuff that fast, or he was a little bit shy about it. But then our other guitar player ran into Julie saying, I would like to play bass, and Julie's been wanting to get back into ska. So he's like, let's check. And of course, she's got the same last name. So we teased him about that. We're like, is this like your relative? But he pulled her in, and she started playing, and she's just, you have to see her. She's on Facebook. She just played the first show with us, was a benefit for music in schools right around the corner in Fairport. And she did a great job. And it was really awesome to see her kind of shining. And also funny because the horns are always up front, and then it's me, and then the guitars, and the bass player's kind of always hidden in the back. And I always tease Charles because he kind of always leans into my space, and I'm like, you've got like 7 feet, and I want to move and dance, So we have this little stage battle. And in this moment, Julie's like hidden in the back, and I'm like, you're gonna put the female behind all the horns, Charles? And he looks at me, and he he moves back and then she moves up, and it was really cute. I'm like, there's another female again. We had MC who played keys. Phenomenal. I love her to pieces. She wrote Dear Tom. She's a awesome songwriter, and she was 22 at the time. But she is trying to really focus on her. She's a teacher now in my district. She has a lot of different side projects she does. So she left. She pulled out. So I was like so sad for multiple reasons for her to go. And so just to have another female, so I'm super excited about that.
So
Yeah.
she was familiar with the music of ska. Like, did she play that back in California?
Yes.
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 What bands was she in?
Do you remember the name of it? We were trying to pull it up.
It was some, it had a Jewish name. It was like Jewish. I cannot remember. I will try to find it as we're talking.
It was, and Dan Kay was in it, and they were in it together. And then she knew, like, so she's like, I was looking at your Facebook page, and she started listing people that she knew, and I was like, oh, that's so wild because it's all, from the ska community. So it'll be nice to bring her back in to ska, and and unfortunately, because of the leadership that we are currently under, she works mainly with immigrants that come into town. We are a sanctuary city, and she works closely with them, and she got furloughed. So really horrible about that. And at the same time, she's like, well, I've got lots of time to practice. So she's been sitting there picking up the bass and really focusing on that while she has the extra time. So
That just happened to my brother. He lives in DC and he works in that same type of environment with overseas, and dealing with that. So, and he got furloughed too. Kind of sucks.
and like how important their job is, and you see it as soon as they get furloughed. Like,
Ridiculous.
yeah.
So, what's the furthest that your band has ever come out our way in California?
Oh,
We haven't gone west
have
very
not
much
gone
at all.
west.
Everything we've done has been north and east and south.
We would
So, like
love
Michigan
to
is
go
like the
west.
furthest you've gone. What have you gone?
Boston, Connecticut,
That's all east.
Pennsylvania,
Yeah,
all
everything.
East Coast. I can't even think of. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we went through Canada.
Oh yeah, you have the live album.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
we did go through Canada and hit like almost half of Canada on
That
the
was all to the
east
east.
side.
Yep.
Apparently, the West has not pulled us that way yet. We would love to, though. I would love to go to California. I would love to go to Hawaii, where Mikey Root is.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
John Castro's in California. My son goes to
Huh?
school in Santa Monica, my oldest. So, and he would come to a ska show, by the way. Just saying. He actually appreciates the music and stuff, and he's into theater and whatnot. So
Yeah.
he's a lot of fun. But it would be nice to actually go out there.
Yeah, John's in San Diego. I talk to John all the time. He's a great dude.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. So if you guys ever come out here, of course, we'll get you some shows.
Yeah.
Set something up. Maybe get the Slackers to take you on their whole tour.
That's what
For
we're
real.
trying to do.
For
They
real.
keep saying they're really funny because we get along really well, and of course we sound check for them, and we just love them. But Jess is always like, "There's the van, just jump in the van." Every time we're leaving the shows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I do fit in a suitcase, by the way.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've only seen the Slackers once, and it was not here. It was at Matt Flood's in his backyard
Oh.
in what was it? I think it was Connecticut.
They do the private parties.
Yeah.
They love that stuff.
Yeah. I was my son and I were on a vacation, and I heard about the show and reached out to him, and we were able to come by. And it's like that drive to his house is insane. Trying to get through there, it's like, oh my God, where the hell is this? It's like in the backwoods.
Yeah, especially I feel like the East Coast has a lot of that.
Aren't Slackers doing 5 shows in California later this year?
LA.
They are. They have one. It was supposed to be a private show in San Fernando Valley, but that's sold out. But it's weird. They're doing a small place called Alex's Bar in Long Beach when they could be playing Toxic Toast, which is twice the size on that one. But they're doing a few dates here and there, but I don't really go to many shows anymore. Jose's the one that goes to all the shows like every
I
week.
try.
Yeah.
I'm so busy with this and the Goodwin Club and my kids and work, so it's like it's kind of hard for me to get out. Um,
There's so many shows out there. It's
Yeah.
depressing to watch John
well,
Castro's feed sometimes because every night he's at a ska show. It's
he
five
is,
nights a week. I'm like, we don't
and
have anything like that out in the East.
yeah, but he drives 2 hours north.
Yeah.
And, yeah, 3 hours south, east to
Yeah.
go. He goes to all those. Jose is the one that drives hours too
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
to go to
Yeah. I
shows.
drive like a couple hours to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he drove. How many hours did you drive to see Stop the Presses over here when we went?
It was a couple hours. Oh, no, that was 3 hours, I think, to kill the traffic. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
But
got to account for traffic too. So we got to
right.
account for it. It's such a damn headache.
yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be tired the next day for work.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, yeah.
and so there's a bunch of factors that go into I mean, just me because I'm an old man, but Jose's not that old yet. But he's more vivacious than I am, so he's all,
Daryl, if John can do it, you can do it.
yeah. John is
Yeah.
older than me, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's,
No, they're and if yeah. And
and
we
he's a
went
truck driver too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
yeah.
So yeah, I should, but only the last. I think the last show I went was it the Stop the Presses or
The Stop the Presses you went to
Okay.
with me.
But before
Yeah.
that, it's like there was a couple within a month 2 months that I went to, and it was the Aquabats the 30th anniversary
Yeah.
Oh,
that we went and saw with Go 13 and the Goodwin Club.
Nice.
see,
Yeah.
I love that. And Chris Murray is always posting stuff that's happening out that way.
Yeah,
So you
Chris.
see it.
Yeah, Chris does a lot of free shows at some of the breweries and stuff like that in Ventura and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But Chris is an advocate for everybody. He's always got an open ear. And last time I saw Chris was at the Knitting Factory in Hollywood. And who played? Oh, the Skints played.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was the Skints and Bite Me Bambi that played there. So that was cool. And he's hanging out in the back with the band. And
Yeah.
then I wanted to get an autograph because I have all the records, of course. I wanted to get an autograph from all the band members, but only the guitarist was the one that was signing it. So I should have asked Chris, take it in the back.
Yeah,
I want to
he would. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah, he would for sure. We when we did the Vic cover 23rd and 2nd, we did his cover. Him and Chris and Vic came through Scotchester to play like one of their little mini shows,
Uh-huh.
and they used us as like a stopping point, and we opened for them. So we played that song, and I just remember it's so funny because we were excited to show it to Vic, even though he kind of heard it, but like show it, and I could see I'm singing it, and I look out, and Vic's like looking around or distracted, and you see Chris walk up to him, and he like grabs him, and he's like, "Look, like it's so cute." He's like, "This is for you," and I was like, I just appreciate him so much. It was funny, and Vic's like, "All right, all right."
It's funny because Dave from that band's just been in every band. I think he started in the Donkey Show and then Rocksteady 7, and was he even in Eastern Standard Time for a while too, or I don't remember.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And a bunch of like he does a lot of horn stuff too, like with
Oh.
different bands, like jumps up, with the horn sections. But yeah, and actually on their merch table, they're very good. Like they'll have some of his stuff up there. Like I just saw one of the
Rocksteady 7 was
was
on
up there.
His albums were up there, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tight knit scene out there that they have. Because that's what Dan was talking about, not just Boston, but the New York City scene as
Yes.
well. Yeah, that was
Like when
very
they played
cool.
Otto's, which is like the tiniest, coolest place, but tiniest place ever. And the Slackers show up. I was like, that's got to be wild for a ska person to be like, I'm just gonna go there tonight for fun.
Yeah.
And then, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
Well, Ryan's got a good gig there. Like
Oh, yeah.
every week he's got ska bands going through there.
Yeah.
That's,
it's pretty much because of him, right? That all that happens.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's his thing. I mean, that's awesome. I'd love to have a club to do stuff like that all the time. That'd be
Yeah.
amazing.
That'd be so fun.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
if
So you've
been
always
there
got a
when we
stopping
played
point
I
there.
can't imagine what it was like when the Slackers were there.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know.
you're packed. You're packed at like 20, 30 people,
Yeah.
but they said there was about 60, so
Wow.
a lot. And then the
Wow.
stage is tiny, so for a ska band, you're all off the stage and around, and that's fun
Yeah,
too.
and yeah, exactly. They could just go play outside.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, this is time where we come to the end of the interview, and we ask you, is there anything that you want to say to your fans or the listeners of this channel? Anything you want to let us know? Anything personal about you guys? Anything like that?
Oh, we're just so thrilled with the reception we got on our last album, and we're hoping that this one we're even more proud of. We think our songwriting is getting better. The band is getting tighter, and we hope that people love what we're doing. We just love the reception we get when we go to places. It really is a dream come true. The stuff that we do, and we just appreciate everything we see out there.
Yeah, and if you're coming through Scotchester and you're part of the Ska fam, let us know. Yes, we'll hook you up. Right?
We'll send some bands your way.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, and also like if there's places, because we'd love to go anywhere. So if there's definitely places that people think that we should be playing and they have like a connection, just shoot it our way, and we'll look into it, because we love the travel and we love actually getting out to do things. So it's fun and playing the music. And I will say, there's a lot more personal stuff on this past album, like lyrics wise. So putting my heart on paper like that, and then people being able to relate to it. Like, I won't go into too much detail because it's somebody else's story, but literally we were driving, and one of our good friends who's just in the middle of going through absolute craziness, and I'll say cancer, right? Is now at the other end of it, hopefully, like cleared, went through all this surgery. It was a last minute thing, like literally diagnosed in January, was supposed to come to the wedding, said I have a doctor's appointment, didn't come, had to have it all removed. Like really just tragic, and is a huge musician, like love her to pieces. And when we're driving to one of the shows, and she just texted me like, hey, I'm sitting here listening to We Got Us, and I'm staring at my husband thinking of all the shit we've been through the past 3 months. And she goes, and I'm bawling. And when she said that, and I know her story, and I'm like, all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, like just the because those are the lyrics, but like the interpretation of it from that lens was just a whole other level. And I just looked at him and I was like, I couldn't talk. And he's like, what? I was like, We Got Us. He's like, okay. Like, and I'm like, oh, and I'm trying to show him. And, at first you read the words, he's like, okay. But then I show him who sent it. And he was like, all of a sudden, I'm like, yeah, like all of a sudden he couldn't talk. He's like, thanks a lot. Like we're driving and we're both bawling. And I'm like, okay. And then you just like a reminder of the impact music has, and lyrics, and how you can really touch souls of people that have just giant blocks up. And I think that's the whole point, is just changing the world with what you do and what you say in a positive way, and I think that's just why we keep doing it, because you have to, right?
Yeah. You two are doing. What's that?
It's especially right now.
Exactly, especially right now. So we want you to hold on. We're going to ask you some questions after. Not that it's not on, we can't say it on here, but we want to thank you all, or thank you both for your time. And we appreciate you. We definitely will see you soon, hopefully on the West Coast, or if we go to the East Coast.
Hello, Skankers. Jose here, aka Skanky Force. Will you like to win a free Ska Box? It's as easy as following Ska Box Rocks and Stiff Dog Records on Instagram and Facebook. And subscribe to Ska History Hour on YouTube and comment Ska Box Rocks in any video to enter. Good luck!
Segregation shaping the street.